Now, today's forum features 5 distinguished panelists with expertise ranging from manufacturing and recycling to landfill design, waste to energy, and climate change. And their bios, if you look, are on the reverse of the notices that have been placed on everybody's seat. Each panelist will be making a 5-minute presentation, after which there will be a free-ranging discussion with participants and the guest speakers. There may be questions from the audience regarding Metro Vancouver's draft solid waste management plan. And while our speakers today will not be able to address questions pertaining specifically to the plan, please note that Metro Vancouver will be hosting public consultations in January 2010. Furthermore, Metro Vancouver is currently hosting an online discussion forum called Join the Conversation at www.metrovancouver.org. Members of the public are invited to pose questions and comments, and Metro Vancouver staff are responding to these online. This is a two-way conversation between Metro Vancouver and members of the public. When we come to the open discussion part of the forum, please indicate to our 2 very able Metro Vancouver staff, Jane Porter and Denise Philippe, who are at the back at the moment. They would, if you'd like to ask a question, and they will provide to you the roving mic. Now, finally, please note that the forum is being videotaped, and highlights can be viewed on Metro Vancouver's website in the near future. So, without any more ado, let me introduce our first panelist, Len Laycock. Len is the founder and president of Upholstery Arts, a furniture manufacturing company that has adopted visionary sustainability criteria. He is also a director of the recently formed Board of Change and a former director of marketing for Ikea Canada and Ikea USA. Len.
Well, I'm going to speak for a few minutes about some of my views on garbage, but the theme is basically that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, a phrase we all know and don't often pay enough attention to. In our lifetimes, a lot has changed about garbage. Our consumption compared to, say, 40, 50 years ago has gone up in enormous fashion. We buy a lot more products that are throwaway and don't have the lifespan that products used to have, electronics being a very typical example of that. So the volume has gone up. The volume in our garbage dumps has gone up massively. The nature of the garbage has changed radically. It is pretty much all toxic, pretty much across the board if you look at products and packaging. And the expense, of course, is just mushrooming and seems to have no limit on that. The consequences for health are very, very significant, and garbage does have an effect on healthcare budgets. We know that in British Columbia that we keep hearing from the Premier these past years that our healthcare budget is just going to finally eat up the entire provincial budget the way it's going. And of course the consequences for the environment and the link to global warming must be made and must be kept in the forefront of our minds. But it's an ugly topic, and in fact garbage is such an ugly topic that we have to use sanitizing language when we speak about it. So we use terms such as landfill. And I have made the point before that I have never seen, and I do not believe that a landfill has ever existed, and I think it's a fairy tale. We used to call it, when we were kids, it was the dump, or the garbage dump, and that's all it really is. And we shouldn't be using language that makes it sound cleaner and tidier than it is. If you're going to have a landfill, it presumes there is a piece of land that is some kind of black hole and is completely useless, and in fact, needs to be filled with something and somehow is inadequate without it being filled with garbage. So the idea of landfill is quite a ridiculous term, and I wince every time I hear it. We also talk a lot about waste management, but really we don't manage our garbage very well at all. So because we don't manage it very well, I would submit that we really don't have control of our garbage. We like to have the illusion that we have control by having sanitary engineers and all kinds of engineers with plans and schemes for landfills and everything else, but we really do not have control of our garbage at all. So I raise the question, who really does have control of the garbage? Well, who are the deciders about what our garbage is? And that would include the products that end up there and the packaging and everything else. I would suggest that the people who make the decisions about our garbage are typically from away, from some other place, are typically providing products that have a throwaway aspect, and are quite typically providing in their range of products and packaging, products that are in a very substantive way out and out toxic, mostly because of the presence of petrochemicals, the effects in terms on our bodies, in terms of hormones, cancer, and all the other things that we hear about in so many, many different ways. So let's look at a sampling of who really decides about the garbage. I'm not picking on any particular company, but just pointing out a sample list. Canadian Tire, Walmart, Home Depot, Microsoft, Samsung, Ikea, Best Buy, Superstore, Shoppers Drug Mart, The Brick, Sleep Country would all be examples of people who are really making the decisions about what ends up in our garbage dumps and even into our recycling programs. And those decisions are really not made by you. So I think the citizens are pretty much disenfranchised at the moment, and we have these things coming at us all the time, and here we are trying to deal with it with money from the public purse. But really, the source of the garbage is coming from corporations who are really just taking an expense and putting it off balance sheet and putting it onto the commons or onto the public purse. And I think if judged by their actions, by the nature of the packaging and the products they sell, I think we can, without being too unkind, suggest that these corporations, if judged by their actions, absolutely do not care about the effects that the garbage has on our lives. They simply don't care, they want to look the other way. And the question arises, why do we even allow this? So that is who makes the decisions, essentially, and all of their product and package designers and product development people along the way. But they make the decisions, but who pays? Well, we all pay. So why are we allowing that? What is wrong with that picture? I think everything is pretty much wrong. We are disenfranchised, and the people who are truly responsible for these things are excused entirely the expense. What I'm going to suggest is that what we have to do with garbage, if we really want to solve it, is we have to repatriate the garbage to its original sources. And you can do that through cradle-to-cradle programs and everything else. But I suggest that if we repatriate the garbage to where it comes from and the people who are initiating it, then I think we will see an end to garbage as we know it very, very quickly, because economic necessity will force solutions to be found. Thanks very much.